Okay, Dr. Ozair, welcome.
Welcome.
I was just about to start my introduction, so let me do that. And I hope that you're going to explain what the word fungible means for us all. Are you going to do that?
Yes, I'm going to do that. And let me just pull up my presentation, and I'm sure that everything will look
okay.
Okay.
While you're doing that, let me do an introduction here.
Okay.
And so Dr. Ozair is a data scientist. She is a quant strategist and a leading blockchain and cryptocurrency expert. She is a fintech faculty member at Rutgers Business School, where she has developed and teaches courses on blockchain and digital assets for both undergrads and graduates. And she also serves as research director at Rutgers Business School Blockchain Hub. She's an advisor and researcher at the Rutgers Blockchain and Fintech Collaboratory, and is an affiliated professor at Rutgers Law School, focusing on DeFi. My God, that is a powerful CV, and there's more to it. So let's welcome Dr. Ozair. And the subject, of course, is NFTs, non-fungible tokens, explaining their relevance to the investment and finance industry. So I'm looking forward to this. Over to you, Dr. Ozair.
Thank you so much, Keegan. I really appreciate this lovely and very introduction and your kind words. And thank you, everyone, for having me this afternoon. It's afternoon for you. Good morning to me, very early here this morning. And I'm going to, and thank you for joining me today for this very exciting topic about NFTs and how it's going to change the business world. And I can tell you it's not just going to change the business world, it's going to change your life, because blockchain technology is going to be the rails, what I call it, that's going to, all of the services and the products that you know today are going to run by blockchain technology, and NFTs, which is one application of blockchain technology, will be utilized in one way or another in any service and products. So I'm very excited because this is the future, and the future is very exciting. And I hope that you will be a little bit excited as I am by the end of my presentation. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. But let's understand first, what does fungible versus non-fungible means, and I think you can just mention that, what is in fact that concept. So let's start from what the understanding what fungible versus non-fungible mean in general, because the idea of fungible versus non-fungible has been around since the beginning of time. And let's think about what is fungible versus non-fungible in the physical world. So in the physical world, when we think about fungible is anything that is interchangeable and sometimes also indistinguishable. So if you think about this $2 bill, I'm in the US, so I'm using a US dollar, but you can think about any payment that you use today, whatever you use in South Africa or anywhere in the world. So these $2 bills, they are interchangeable. Why? Because it doesn't matter which one. If I go to buy something at the grocery shop or buy coffee, so the person at the store, will accept, whether this dollar or that dollar, it is interchangeable, right? They don't care. However, it's not indistinguishable because it has a serial number. And the serial number is how the central bank track it. So this is what I mean by fungible. And when we think about indistinguishable, so this is our grains of salt. So you can think about these grains are interchangeable, but also indistinguishable because you can't really make a difference between which grain you're using, to dress your salad, for example. So this is, just to understand the fungibility aspect of it. Now, if we go to understanding, what non-fungible means, non-fungible is anything that is unique. So unique, everything that is unique in the physical world can be like an action movie, it could be a painting. Like even if we're talking about painting of Rembrandt or Picasso, then even each and every painting of Rembrandt or Picasso is unique because it's not interchangeable. And back in the days, we used to barter, or one goat for two cows, but still, a goat and a cow, that they are unique, and then to figure out, the value and how to really barter between them, then that probably was very subjective. But, that's the idea that we can think about, everything that is unique in the physical world, whether whether it's a painting or a video. This video, for example, you as a human are unique. I want to believe that we are all unique and we're all different. And so everything that is unique is non-fungible. So now if we take that to the tokenization world, right? So the equivalent or the analogous to non-fungible to fungible is Bitcoin, because it doesn't matter, which Bitcoin you use when you transfer it and pay for it. It doesn't matter. But it is not indistinguishable, because it's like the dollar bill that I just showed you. It does have, some kind of, not exactly serial number. It has a hash number, so it has, a way to distinguish it. So it is intangible, but not indistinguishable. However, when we're talking about non-fungible, then every digital art, the Beeple, you probably heard about the Beeple collage that was sold for I think that was, the most expensive NFT that has been sold as of yet. We don't know what will happen next, but that was the most expensive, I think expensive one. So this is, so if this is a piece of art, a digital art, but it's unique. You can think about whether it's Dorsey, when Mark Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, just also sold his first tweet, which is just 3 words, this is the first, or something like that, and then that was sold for $2.9 million. So everything that is unique, that you can think about it, you can even NFT yourself if you really, have high esteem of yourself and you think that you should be NFT'd. So that's what we mean by NFT. It's like, it's non-fungible tokens. So we are taking it, we are tokenizing it. It is a digital form and we are tokenizing it. So it's a unique token. That's how you can think about it. A unique digital asset. That's the best way to think about it. And the concept of NFTs has been around a long time ago. I mean, even though, the hype just started now and it's as if, it just happened. But in fact, the first NFT was created at the end November of 2017. And it was called CryptoKitty. It was a game, and you can think about, a kitty, or you can think about, any animal is unique, right? So the idea was that you have a kitty, you create it, it's a digital kitty, and you can breed it, you can sell it, and that's the idea of that. So the concept has been around a long time ago, but I guess, people forgot about it because of the bust of the crypto market, as we know, the end of 2017. And since there, things kind of like people forgot about it, but it kind of like got a new wave, a new hype. I think, during the pandemic, people probably had too much time on their hand, and that, came back to life, so to speak, and in a big boom, which everyone is talking about. So yeah, Dapper Lab was the one who created this crypto. It's still around. They're doing really exciting stuff. They're building, in fact, the platform for NBA NFTs, which is a basketball association, was created with the NBA associations. Will Dapper Lab created that Top Shots marketplace for NFTs for all kinds of NBA athletes, etc. So just to give you some idea. Okay. Now, people always ask, why do they exist, right? Why NFTs? But you can think, as of now, that the main purpose, the main usage of NFTs were in collectible, like the Dorsey tweet or what athletes are doing, etc. So you can think about, there's any collectible. Why do people, collect? Because, either, oh, I own it, some kind of, or think about it as an investment. And if you collect in the physical world, whether it's paintings or wine or jewelry or whatever, then now this is a new medium that everything is digital today. So now the concept has become more in a digital world. So this is how you can perceive that today. And again, we think about uniqueness, we're thinking about a sense of ownership and pride. And so you can basically, in the digital world, you can basically digitize almost everything from something physical, and you create a digital representation of it, or something that's also already digital, like a tweet or video, or even an article, anything that you can create digitally, you can NFT that. Now, people are always asking, is that a bubble or not a bubble? But let's be honest, whenever we think about a bubble, we always know about that in hindsight. While we are experiencing it, people may guess, yes, it's a bubble, no, it's a bubble, we don't know. And, and the value of anything, depends, on what will happen. And like any investment, whether you invest in real estate or invest in the stock market, it's everyone guess about what the value is. Some people, have, their own models and understanding or not understanding, or just guessing and gut feeling, so to speak. And they investing in one thing or another that may become 2 times more and maybe 100 times more in the future, and may go bust. But we don't know that, and that's like any investment, you have to be mindful of that. So if you think about NFTs as an investment, not as a collection, because you really feel that this is something that you would like to own from a personal perspective, then you should approach it like any investments. You should ask, who is the creator of these NFTs? What is the potential to increase in value in terms of reputation of this creator, the rarity, the ownership, etc. So all of these things, like in any investment, you can think about the auction, because they're all, it is traded on all kinds of auction platforms. So you can think about, which auction platform to use. Is it tradable? Is it liquid? The liquidity issue is also an issue today, especially, but who knows, maybe in the future as technology advances, then this liquidity issue probably will be less of a concern. But this is another thing that you should think about. And from a taxation perspective, it is subject to taxes. In anywhere around the world, even though the regulations are not there yet. From a regulative perspective, regulators haven't really wrapped their head around NFTs. However, the tax authorities are always coming first, because they need to collect in payments and taxes. So from the creator perspective, this is an income tax, and from an investor perspective, it is subject to capital gain, because it is an investment, a token. So that's something to consider as well if you decide to go that route. Now, but there is something that is beyond the what you call investment and monetary value. There is also some kind of something more on a personal, emotional value, because you can have an NFT and you can add to that what we call utility. And the utility is something, like what, there was an NFL, what we call football, the US football, not soccer, football in the US. And with this, photos of his, he also created, some utility, which is, a meet and greet, and one, and some VIP tickets that you can join his beach party that he's having, and things like that. And another example for that, the music band Kings of Leon, they also released their album as an NFT. Remember, it could be music, can also be digitized. And they gave whoever as an auction the opportunity to bid on 6 golden tickets, and that will allow the buyer the front seats for life. So there's all kinds of perks that you can throw in. What they call the utility that will do the NFT. So it has sometimes more than just a monetary value, but also maybe some personal, emotional value. If you like this, whether an athlete or a band or a musician or an artist, it throws another value to it, which is beyond just monetary. And if you think about it, just wanted to think about maybe we can discuss this later on in the Q&A. Is like what if you can basically the ticket itself you can NFT it. Just think about it this way. I'm just throwing it out there that as of now it's a ticket basically is a piece of paper. Yeah, that you purchase it, or it could be digital, and you basically ignore it, after the concert, also either you throw away this piece of paper, or you just, don't care about it. But what if you can NFT it? So if it's NFT, then it can stay there forever, and then now it becomes an asset by value. It can become a collectible. So just think about it from that perspective of what can you do, which is beyond just, selling tickets. So these tickets can not just be for this auction of front row, but can be for every ticket can have a value, maybe not like the front row, but just think about it, throwing it out there. Okay, so this trend is definitely going to continue because the possibilities and opportunities of NFTs are boundless, and goes way, way, way above and beyond art and celebrities and tweets and photos and all of things digital. Because the business applications, this is what you have to, pay attention and focus on, are vast. And the true power of NFTs is basically the authentication of any asset, whether it is physical or digital. And by that, when you authenticate, because every transaction that we have starts with the authentication of anything. And the power of NFTs is this authentication, and by that you facilitate basically any transfer of any ownership for any property. So the properties that you can so that you can authenticate are anything from physical to digital, as I mentioned. And if you are authenticating a physical asset like real estate property, so the value of that NFT will be tied to that physical value, this physical asset, like in the case of real estate, for example. And when I mentioned, that you can basically, NFT anything, wine or a Gucci bag, just, in fact, Gucci did NFT a bag, and, surprisingly or not, the NFT bag, the Gucci bag, is worth more than the physical bag. Just a thought why that could happen. So, and then, if NFT is an asset, then you can take it a step further, and you can think about all the other things that you can do with NFTs. And if it is an investment, it can also be used as any financial vehicle, let's say for collectible. And today, with all the new decentralized application, the decentralized finance applications, it can be used whether as a collateral or for lending or provide some liquidity in all kinds of liquidity pools like that we see today. So the applications can go way above and beyond what we can think today. And so basically the idea of NFTs, everyone can create an NFT. It's not. It can definitely democratize society, and that's what I believe that will happen. And today we hear about all the celebrities that are NFTing their whatever piece of art or a tweet or something like that. But it can go beyond that, and everyone will come to a point. And I think there are some platforms thinking about it this way, how to really make it easy and seamless for everyone to NFT, and so everyone basically can monetize whatever and create new income streams. So you can think about, instead of you just posting your video or I don't know, your ideas about some lessons that you created about I don't know, cooking or some recipe that you have, then and putting it out there on Instagram or Facebook, then instead of doing that, you can NFT that and monetize it right away. So that's another way of thinking about, and this is how you might be able to create some additional income stream. And in that sense, I believe that that will come a day where it's really going to democratize society in a way that everyone will feel that they can monetize, whether it's their hobbies or any sort of additional income, source of income. But it can go even beyond that, because as I said, it's the business use cases that are important, and you basically can NFTs, any certificate, because authentication is what's important here. And the manpower, and this is something that I want people, if there's one thing that you should remember from this presentation, is that the manpower of NFT is the authentication. And if you think about it, every transaction, whether it's a service or product, requires authentication, whether for a person or an asset or a document, right? We have to authenticate if this person is really, if is really the right person. We have to authenticate the asset, whether they have the asset, whether the asset is valid, it's not a fraud. You have to authenticate the documentation. We always have, there's a process of authentication before we transact. And after we authenticate that, yes, this person A who claimed that they're John is really John, and we authenticate, and the asset, yeah, they do have the asset, and the asset is real and not a fraud, and they really own that asset and they can transfer it. So all of this information, we always have the authentication. We have this authentication that what we call today off-chain, in the physical world. And now all this off-chain authentication now has to be brought to the digital world, what we call on-chain. And without authentication, ownership cannot be transferred, right? I mean, this is how things happen. So the NFTs allows you, and that's the manpower of NFTs, to bring this off-chain authentication process on-chain, and that's the manpower of it. And once you authenticate everything, then you can verify and transfer. Ownership can be verified and transferred and attained, and you can, all transactions can happen. So that can create new opportunities in the future, new assets, whether they're digital or virtual, or digital representation of physical asset. They can have a digital representation of real estate or a Gucci bag. And then, the next step will be the fractionalization ownership that will, of course, increase market share and value. So if we think about beyond art, business use cases, even within the art space, you can create new income streams. And if you think beyond that, then you can NFT a real estate, whether you can real estate, so land deed, the title, and documentation, you can verify the ownership of this asset. And that will, and everything is, since we're talking about the blockchain, everything will be transferable, trackable, and transparent. And that, of course, will reduce time and cost. And of course, and this is for the finance people in this crowd, you can even NFT a fund, because if you think about every fund, whether it's an ETF or a mutual fund or a hedge fund, it's also unique. So think about, in a way that you can actually NFT a fund. There is a way to do that. Maybe that's for a different lecture, but that's another thing to think about. And the ultimate goal, the ultimate vision that I have is basically to NFTs, your digital identity, your personal identity, because everything that we do in the digital world and the physical world, can be, it will be our digital identity, and that will be NFT'd and authenticated, because we are authenticating ourselves. And I guess with that, I'll end here, and I'll open it for questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ozair. A couple of questions here, if we can answer them very quickly before we move on to our debate. We've had a slight change in the schedule. We're going to have the panel discussion next, and we're going to have the debate after that. But a technical problem there in David Shapiro joining us from New York. Okay, Dr. Ozair, here's a question. Which company or brand do you believe are creating awesome NFTs?
What I mean, I do you mean about the platforms, or which platform or brand?
Yes, I mean, I guess this is such a new space, and I you know, as a journalist, I've had a few people write to me and say, "How do I, you know, I've got an idea for an NFT." One of them being a wine company based in the Cape Town area.
Mm-hmm.
How do I create an NFT for my very, very best wines? And of course, there are people now who are doing development, blockchain development for that kind of thing. But the ability to take something like wine, tokenize it, and then be able to sell that on chain somewhere. Just maybe explain that process.
Okay, so you have to understand, you know, wine is unique, right? You know, I mean, you have different wineries. Each and every winery is unique. And each and every bottle of wine, you know, it depends on the vintage, right? You know, if it's from 1920 or 1980. So there are all kinds, and some people do collect wine just for this uniqueness. So, and I do know people who do collect wine. So you can think about it now that you can authenticate, right? NFT that wine. I mean, the bottle can still be physical, but the authentication is a certificate for that wine. It's not that the wine is going to be, let's say, the wine itself is going to be NFT, and you just buying, you know, a digital wine. You buying the certificate for the authentication of that wine, that it's really came from that brand, from that winery, whether in Italy or France or wherever, that, you know, sold for hundreds of dollars, sometimes even thousands, and it comes from that particular vintage. So as I said, you know, the power of the NFTs is the authentication, and then the power of blockchain is that you can trace each and every bottle, where it is, who holds it, you know, and there are ways, you know, to track it and see where it is even in the world. This bottle of wine that traveled from Italy, maybe now it is in Hong Kong, and who holds that wine. So, and that unique authentication can be tracked and traced, and you have the certificate for that particular bottle of wine.
All right, Dr. Ozair, thank you so much for that presentation. I think that demystified for me a lot of the issues around non-fungible tokens. It really is the birth of something quite new and fascinating, because they're marketplaces for all sorts of things which had no value prior to now. People who develop digital art, people who, like winemakers, who now want to be able to sell the very best bottles of wine that they had for the last season. Journalists even will be able to sell stories. Yes. People who make video content.
Yes.
You know, there's a value, even though these things can be seen millions of times, the ownership of that, the ownership right, the title deed to that now has value.
Right, exactly. So what it means is, suppose you as a journalist, you post your article. Nowadays, when you post it, basically everyone can copy it. You can't really, you know, claim, hey, but this is me, I was here first, because it's you can, but it's hard once you put it out there. But with NFT, the whole idea of authentication, even before you post, you NFT it, and then you create this authentication. This is yours. There's a timestamp, the who created it, and now you can monetize it right away and make sure that this is your article. You are the original creator, and you should be monetized and get the royalties. If anyone, like, you can do like a click. I mean, this is something that I'm working on, and I'd be more than happy to speak with people about what I'm building right now and developing. That you can create like click for view. That, you know, everyone who sees your article and read whatever you put out there with a podcast or an article, then they can be monetized for the creation that you have created as a journalist or an artist or any creator.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Dr. Ozair, anybody who's got questions for Dr. Ozair can send them through on the Q&A chat line here, or write to Geltec, info@geltec.co.za afterwards, and we will pass it on to Dr. Ozair, and I'm sure she will very kindly respond to anybody who's got questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Ozair, who's joining us, I believe, from New York.
Right. Yes. New York City.
Okay, and very early in the morning.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.